Hey, moviegoers, movie fans alike. Thank you for clicking into KDM, a show that's about movies. The K standing for my friend, very valued colleague, Kit Bowen. Hi, Kit.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And the D is
I'm,
Demetri. That's
which is
well, no
me.
way.
Thank you.
This
Doing
Demetri.
odd. Well, I'm not unwell, I should say. It's like we're in the summer solstice
Yes.
almost. So
Yes.
yes, summer is starting, and yeah, summer movies are already into high gear, and you'd have to be a zombie not to know what movie we're going to be talking about today, which is a almost 30 years, more to the point, 28 years later
Yes.
from 2002.
Yes.
Yes, we will be talking about 28 years later. Kit and I will be talking about that movie, giving our reviews and thoughts of the
Yes.
series and zombies in general.
Yes.
And this was a movie, one of the few movies that we got to see together,
Yes, we
which
did.
was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Yeah.
Always.
So, what did you
Always,
think,
always.
Kit?
Well, I liked it a lot. I am a fan of the franchise. I think it's an interesting take on the zombie, situation. But there are kind of two schools of zombies at this point. We've got the slow walk, the slow zombies from like The Walking Dead and that kind of thing, to the fast zombies, which are more like the virus. And in this case, Danny Boyle, who created all the movies, actually directed all of them. Um, he
Oh,
it's
he
it's
didn't direct the second
the
one.
second one, you're right. But he was produced it. Yeah, you're right. He didn't direct the second
Yes.
one. So it's the rage virus, basically, which, is not
Right.
necessarily makes you not a zombie per se, but does make you rage on and kill people and bite, that kind of stuff. So kind of like World War Z, it's the same sort of situation. That was also one. And, for horror situations for a zombie film, when they're fast, that's the scariest because, they can catch you. And that's what makes it interesting when you kind of delve
Mhm.
into that genre and make the monsters be quicker than they were when the very original George Romero's, was a Night of the Living Dead. That was the very first one, right? The zombie movie, I think so.
I mean, there was I Married a Teenage Zombie. I mean, there were some
No,
zombie
but not
movies,
Night of
50s,
the
but
Living Dead, I
it
believe,
was
was the very first
brought
one.
to great prominence. Yeah.
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 Anyway, so yes, I enjoyed this actually. It evolves to a situation where the UK, because in the first two, basically the UK is centrally located to the disease only, so it hasn't spread all over the world. They're able to contain it just in the UK, and they've either bombed them or whatever the case may be, but they've just left they've left UK to the ruin, and to let the infected, however they are manifested, to just live and be there wherever they are. And then the survivors, the people who are not infected, have learned to live there as well. And so we start off in this I like this little island off the coast of northern England, I guess, Scottish maybe. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but uh, it's a community of like 150 people, and they live on this little tiny island that is only accessed through this sort of causeway that they've built, that only can be crossed when it's low tide because it goes over through the channel or whatever the water is. So they're fairly isolated, able to live life fairly normally, but they still kind of live a feudal existence. Not a whole lot of food, not a whole lot of those kinds of things, but certainly, running water and electricity and all that. So they've got that going for them. And we meet Aaron Taylor, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Jamie, and his son. Spike, played by, I loved him, Alfie Williams is his name, who played
Right.
Spike. And there's sort of a rite of passage where, a young man or so ventures out into the what they call the mainland, which is in crossing the causeway to get into the England proper, or whatever, the countryside there, and kill their first infected, basically. And in this film, the infected have also, like I said, they've also evolved. So you've got weird, sluggish infected. I'm like, why are they crawling around like
Slugs.
slugs? You got these who are easy to kill, and then you've got what they call, I don't know exactly what they call them. They called theirs an alpha. So it was an infected person who was sort of an alpha and had like a tribe, I guess, of infected, and they are completely naked, running around, and they can catch you and kill you. And they're the scary kind, especially the alphas. And there's a lot of penises again.
Right.
I don't know what it is. Lately, I've been watching things and lots of penises show up. So anyway, the story basically revolves around this young guy and his parents, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then Jodie Comer, who I thought was just wonderful in this. She plays his mother, and she's sick. I mean, I guessed right away that it was cancer, probably, because um she's in bed, and she's kind of half lucid sometimes, and seriously in bad shape. And Spike finds out that there's an actual person out in the survivor world, out on the mainland, that's a doctor, and he takes it upon himself to try to take his mom to this person to see if she can be cured. And the doctor's played by, again, Ray Fiennes, who comes in. When he comes into the film, it kind of elevates a little bit, in my opinion. And there's some very tender moments with him and Jodie Comer, and I was moved by that. But ultimately, I guess this is the beginning of a trilogy. I think certainly that's how it
I think
ends.
that's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it ends with, Spike kind of gonna venture out on his own. He's decided he needs to figure out what's going on in the world, kind of thing. And he ends up meeting some other type survivors, led by Jack O'Connell. I mean, I only get to see him for a second, but clearly
He's having a good year.
yeah, probably he'll be appearing in the next film, I guess. But they were kind of interesting survivors. Anyway, as far as the continuation of the franchise, I felt, I was back in it again, and it was beautifully shot too. I mean, just the scenery, this green scenery, and all of the forests and everything. It's been untouched for so long by most human, mankind, I should say. It was just gorgeous to watch, and like I said, it really it touched me, and at times I didn't think I would feel that way, and it kind of touched me. But ultimately, I thought it was a good time. I think it's. I'm curious to see what comes next. I'm definitely back in it again, so I'm ready for the next couple of ones. So I liked it. Good for me.
Well, good. Well, it was fun watching the movie with you. There was a scene in which, it was the inevitable cat jumping out of the thing that you jumped at. It was actually
Yes.
very funny.
Yeah.
But yes, it's always a pleasure watching these types of movies with you. I wish I had, I'm sorry to say, I wish I had a similar experience to you. I didn't. I found the movie, albeit under 2 hours, it felt very long. By the time we got to Ray Fiennes, which seemed to be very deep, deep, deep into the movie, um, yeah, it just, and tonally the movie seemed to be all over the place for me. But I guess my biggest thing is that I keep on going back to the original movie, which I think you had mentioned too. Back in 2002, I think the movie 28 Days Later is like a flashpoint for the zombie movie and the horror movie. So
Yeah.
you had talked about George A. Romero. Uh, and our slow moving zombies, right? And this 28 Days Later really changed the way we
Mm-hmm.
perceive these. And It should be noted that in 28 Days Later, they never use the word zombie.
No, that's always
In
infected.
fact,
Yeah.
they never say it in the sequel. And this is the first, this again.
I'm
So, and
sorry?
this is the first movie within the series that that word is used, which I found very interesting why this
But
was
they
the
still
first
call them
movie
infected as well.
28 years later. Say that again.
I said they still called them
They
infected.
called them infected, but it's the first time that they did, but it's the first time they used the word zombie to describe something, which the first two movies didn't do. And I want to talk about the second movie in a bit. What I'm getting at is it's a flashpoint because zombie movies after that, they kind of like they adapted too. So you had Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, right? We had the, to your point, the very fast running zombies.
Yeah.
World War Z had a lot of them and encompassed the world. You can even, I kind of lump in there the movie The Crazies
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
They were infected people. And then if you want to talk about television shows, Walking Dead was huge. There's still many spin-offs or spin-offs on.
But they're slow on that.
Into they are slow on that, but it does encompass a lot more. It at least encompasses the country. The same with like you can kind of throw in there The Last of Us, which is very popular with people, that it
Yeah.
has these infected people.
Yeah.
So my problem with this and the series as a whole, but particularly this movie, is that to me it hasn't grown. We're still in Britain. And for some reason, and nobody's really talked about this, I haven't read official word about this, they seem to be retconning 28 weeks later. Whether you like the movie or not, it did bring up some interesting points. There are people who carry the virus, but they're not, um, they may have the virus in them, but um, they're not showing like major symptoms of
Hmm.
having the rage. They can spread the virus, but they don't have those symptoms of rage and they're not going about killing people. Also, the end of that movie, Idris Alba, like they napalm London. Like they just blow it to smithereens. And yet we see there is a huge, large faction of them that were able to escape this bombing, this strafing. And the end of 28 weeks later ends with Paris being under siege by the infected, the rage infected Paris. It just begs me, we're still in Britain. How did you get
Well,
those
they
people
they
from
explain
Paris?
it. They explain it. They say they were able to push it back. So it did start to spread through Europe,
How
but
do
they were able
people
to
not
push it back.
How do they not? How can, if they couldn't do it in 28 weeks later, and it's seen how this is a virus, you mean to tell me nobody got on a plane, nobody did this? I look at World War Z, right? I look at World War Z, which at least had the World Health Organization involved in one way, shape, or form. This movie is still in Britain,
Yeah, well,
and
that
I
was
get
because
it.
that's
Have
that's how
everything
they
cordoned
said it.
off.
Yeah.
I understand that's how they said it, but from a realistic standpoint, I will look at a World War Z and go, yeah, I could see this is what you're going to do. There's nothing here that even states people are studying what's going on. They just have them cordoned off. We're still in Britain. So that kind of like to me, you have stayed like where it once was a flashpoint and inspired other movies and became this big thing. And I still think that 28 Days Later has some of the creepiest imagery. And
Hmm.
I also think that, to your point, I do agree. For me, on the positive side, it is the acting, it is the cinematography, and it is some of the action that kept me invested into the movie.
Yeah.
I agree with you about, I really liked Alfie Williams, Spike. He's
Yeah.
really good. I mean, to be able to have faith in your production team that I don't know how old Alfie Williams is in real life, but the movie relies on him. It
Hmm.
more or less rests on his
Yeah.
shoulders. He's
Yeah.
whom we're seeing this coming of age story through his eyes. He's very, very good.
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, I also found to be very good. The performances were good. The cinematography, everything looked very good. These are all the
You
things
didn't
that
like
I
the
found the
logic.
most interesting
You just didn't
of
like the
this
logic
movie.
of it.
I, I, I don't, it, to me, it doesn't expand. Like, this is our third movie and we're still in Britain and we're not explaining
Well,
how
see,
does
that's
this
the
affect the
thing.
entire world? Because this is a
But that's
virus.
the thing that they
And if
explain to
you
the
can't
fact.
contain coronavirus,
No, but we're not talking
yeah,
about it. This
I understand.
universe. You can't think about it in the sense of it being, a different. This is the 28. This is
I,
that universe, okay? And
yeah,
in that
I understand.
universe, it doesn't spread, able to contain it from spreading to the rest of the world. So, and the way we know that is that we've got this, Swedish guy who
I
shows up, and I guess
understand.
they do these runs or whatever onto the perimeter of the
Yeah,
quarantined area,
I
and life is going
understand.
on. I'm just saying
Life's
that's
going
so I'm
on, but
able to accept that part of it. I'm fine with the
yeah,
rest of it.
I
But
wish it evolved as their zombies or their infected have evolved. To the mere fact that it's 28 years later and we're still really in Britain. I get it. From a political standpoint, you're talking about Brexit. That's basically what this is. It's
yeah,
analogous to the Brexit and the isolationism. I get it. Fine. Politics and movies, fine. From what has come after 28 days later, and we've gotten some great entertainment out of it. I really loved World War Z, and I didn't mind Zack Snyder's interpretation of Dawn of the Dead. Um, and you're right, I think the running zombies, good God, how do you escape
of course
that?
they're horrifying. They're horrifying.
When they
Horrifying.
when they hoard you, right? But the other thing too, regarding 28 weeks later, I just find it odd that no one is really talking about that movie as being in the series. I haven't read a review or anything. And it's almost as if they're silently retconning the events that took place in that movie because there were
Maybe,
some
maybe.
important events. And like it's
I
just
mean, they
fascinating.
cut you. They basically explain it away, not so definitely giving you sort of the definitive what happened kind of thing. They just sort of, oh, we pushed it back, so it's now just in England again. We were able to push it back. So I get it. They didn't explain it well enough, or kind of delve into that, which is sort of negating 28 weeks later. But you know, the point was, I think the point is that okay, yeah,
Mhm.
we were able to contain it, but we're still letting this country just go to rot. But who's left on this in this environment? Who's left is what's the interesting part to me is the people who
Right.
are not infected who have survived and managed to
Hmm.
eke out an existence in whatever form that became. It's
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
infected themselves who also evolved. See now, I guess is that we may end up back in London again if this is a trilogy. So then because these are rural infected, right? They are savage,
Right.
like
I mean,
they are
right.
like ape people, basically, is what they are, and they've eked out their existence in the
Hmm.
woods. So, what are the evolved infected going to be like in like London? So, it's interesting. It's interesting where it'll go, and that's the thing that also kind of fascinated me about this. So, and I'm telling you, yes, if we take out all the
It's
stupid logic and the sensibility and the stuff that you really didn't like, and I get it, the acting was so wonderful, and definitely
I
between
I
Jodie Comer and Ray Fiennes, like that
no,
whole
I
thing, that
understand
was
that.
great.
Yeah.
That was great. It was just beautiful. Made me cry. Made me cry. So,
Yeah.
28 days later was about how it just affected
Yeah.
how it worked, and then how the people were handling it, right? That's always the case in any zombie movie whatsoever, generally, or
Correct.
an
Yep.
apocalyptic movie, I should say. the worst people,
And
the
correct.
biggest
Yeah.
threat are the ones who survive, right? It's human beings and how do they deal with this and how horrible they can become. So in 28 days later, we have this group of military guys
Right.
who are just, I mean,
Yeah.
that was
They become monsters.
horrifying. Yeah, horrifying,
Right.
horrifying. Yes. And then in
Yep.
28 weeks later,
It's
they are,
humanity becoming a monster.
and then in 28 weeks later, you have the idea of, oh, maybe we could find a cure to this. We've got this woman who seems to be infected but not raging, and but she's still contagious. And the husband comes in
Yeah.
and kisses her and becomes, goes all rage and then ends up, raging everybody out. So,
hmm
yeah. So you got that, and you're right. It did get into a different area to Paris. So that was horrible. Fine.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. So it's interesting what they did from 28 weeks to this one. Yeah.
Yeah. They have not, at least the first two movies did not. Well, the first movie ends at least with
Like they're
a
gonna get
glimmer of
rescued.
hope.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a little bit of hope. The second movie, again, and I find the second movie, well, not as good as 28 Days Later by any stretch, but I do think I think it's bold. It's bold in the fact that it does not, you name me a sequel that does not have any of the original cast members. I mean, like these are
Yeah.
all new characters, and it's
Right.
a
Right.
direct sequel, right?
Right.
That's a bold move.
Yeah.
Also, the second one ends on kind of a down note. Like,
Yeah.
as hard as the military tried, we're seeing Paris now,
Right.
like, go bye-bye.
Yeah.
This one ends, it definitely ends open-ended, sort of kind of like
Well, like
it,
you said, it's if it's going to be a trilogy, it absolutely lends itself to a
and
second movie. Yeah.
the second movie is at least scheduled or slated to be released perhaps in January. It
Oh.
was directed by Nia DaCosta, and I
Oh,
think
I
it's
see. Oh,
called,
wow.
yeah, I believe it is to be called something um, like Tower of Bones or Skulls, or it
Interesting.
has something to, I think it's, to me, the title reminded me of Ray Fiennes and what he was doing.
Yeah.
So, and if they get their way and the movies are successful, um, the director,
Oh, it's called
help me out,
28. It's called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple.
the Bone Temple. And the third movie, if they get their way and they get to do a third movie, Danny Boyle has said it will come back to wrap things up. So we shall see what happens
Yes.
in that. So, it was,
So for me, I
uh,
really enjoyed it. I'd give it a solid 4.5 for me.
oh, you're that close to a five.
Yeah.
What,
I
come on.
really liked it. It
What
really
was but I
touched
want to
me.
know what's the half? Like, why didn't you go to a five? Like,
Maybe
what's
you're
the
right
half?
about seeming a little long in the tooth and, really didn't get really started for me until, the kid goes off with the mom. So anyway, it was just a little
Hmm.
slow going at first for me, but then it really just once he goes on his quest with his mom is when it really takes off for me.
Okay, so for me, I'm gonna give it a two. I give it a two. It didn't make me angry. I wished it had evolved. Like, I don't see this inspiring other kinds of movies. We have been inundated within the zombie world, and
Yeah,
you can point to 28 Days Later as being inspiration and flashpoint for that. And I'm not
right.
angry about it. We've gotten good quality movies
Yeah.
from it, some bad, but
And
some
I
good
think
quality
I
movies.
think The Last of Us really is now at it's because it's not a virus per se. Oh, it is a virus, but it's more of a fungi
Eh,
kind of situation, and it's
Hey, I'm
hive
a fun guy.
hive hive minded. I don't know. It's weird.
Yes.
It's weird,
Yeah.
and
And
I
and
like it, but it's weird.
but you could take from that our alpha males, right? Because they are
Yeah,
kind of hive-minded now. If you have an alpha, right? Um,
with
and
a
all
big
these other
penis.
with the
Big
big,
hairy penis. My
he
God.
swings it around.
See who the
That's
actor
big.
was who played him.
Oh, I have it on good authority. It was a prosthetic. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't have
really?
one on any good. No, I don't.
You say because the guy he looks Samoan or something, of that nature. So that made sense to me that he would probably have. Anyway, that was just
Yeah, and
wow,
and did you get
wow.
the sense that there was more than one alpha? Because maybe there
Oh
were more than
yes,
one, right? So there
yes,
had to be more than one alpha.
different tribes. Yeah, I
And
felt
did you get a very Predator feel? That was another thing too.
yes,
I felt like
yes,
those other
yes,
movies, like the
yes,
Predator feel,
yes.
say why,
Yep,
but when you see it, you'll know it.
yep,
And if you know, you know.
yeah.
That's all
Anyway,
there is.
sounds good,
Yeah,
my friend. So yeah, let us know what you guys think of the film
yeah.
and what you thought of the series so far as a thing. And like, subscribe, let your friends know, do all that good stuff.
Yes. And also, do you have a favorite zombie movie? Let's
Mm.
say let's do this because a lot of people do default to George A. Romero, which I am not faulting. I love his movies. Outside of George A. Romero, which he set the standard, what's your favorite zombie movie? Is it
Okay,
28 Days Later? Is it,
quickly.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I think actually, to be honest with you, I can't really pinpoint exactly, but it could be Dawn of the Dead for me as far as because of it being the fast acting zombies and the fast, and it was just really good to me. That and then I also really liked World War Z too. So
Oh,
those are my
World
two
War Z to
favorites.
me is
It's a
fantastic.
great book
I did
too.
like I did like Anna in the Apocalypse, and let's not forget about Shaun of the Dead.
Oh well, yes,
So,
of course.
uh,
That's always going to
but
be up there.
right.
Yeah,
So, but yes, World War Z for me because that is
yeah,
epic, epic,
yeah,
epic. So, anyways, we'll have more movies. I mean, next week there's a potential of there being two movies. We
yep,
know of one that we're seeing together again, I
yep.
believe, and there might
Megan
be
2.0, and then also F1, Brad
F1,
Pitt's.
and then we uh, there may be a Jurassic World screening
No,
popping up
that's
sometime.
yeah, but that's July 2nd. So
Yeah, that's right around the corner.
I know, but it's not
Literally,
next week.
no.
Yeah.
So, but
Anyway,
yeah, we got a lot of good movies, a lot of
good
fun
stuff.
movies.
I'm
This
excited.
summer has been fun, right? This summer's been fun so far. I think this summer it's been offering up audiences variety, entertainment, fun. You've had action, you've had some good drama, The Life of Chuck. It's offered some good, solid entertainment for moviegoers.
Yep. So tune
So,
in for us more. Okay, everybody. Take
yeah,
care.
bye all.
Bye.